they heard Amin was going to be here, so.
Yeah.
I'm in trouble again. Huh?
The good kind of trouble.
What did I do? What did I do? You know?
All right, well, it's 10:02, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. Welcome to this fireside chat between Marseille, the creators of mClassic, and we've got Rainfactory, a full-service agency for go-to-market, and then Easyship as well. I'm Andrew. I'm from Indiegogo, the crowdfunding platform where Marseille got their start for this mClassic, and we're really excited to have you here. We're going to kind of walk through the mClassic origin story, how they partnered with Easyship and Rainfactory and Indiegogo as a platform to bring their idea to life and to bring it to market. So wanted to start off by mentioning we have a Q&A. We'll do that at the end. We're trying to leave a solid 10 to 15 minutes for you guys to have any questions you might ask of any of us, Indiegogo, Rainfactory, Easyship, Marseille. So please just address your question so that we know where to direct it to. You can see the names there in the corner of our little boxes. So feel free to address your questions there and we'll get to those at the end. We'll start with introductions. First, Amin from Marseille, if you want to give a little intro of yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and where you've been.
Yeah, those quickly, thank you so much for arranging this webinar, first of all. No offense, I was born happy, so don't take it wrong during the call, whatever I do. But basically, trying to live the American dream, the entrepreneur moving out from France in mid-90s and came in Silicon Valley and discovered the opportunity to be part of team building processor for video enhancement, compression, and so on and so on. And eventually being pushed to start a company, and I was a reluctant CEO initially, and ended up happening like you forced me. So then, and I go back to my roots, Marseille. Marseille is one of these beautiful cities in south of France. I remember it really, really well. And, we ended up starting the company.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I'll
hand back to 2005, by the way.
Wow. I was still in high school. Well, yeah.
Me too.
I'm sure. I'll hand it over to Enzo now from Rainfactory.
Thank you all, and thanks Indiegogo for hosting. I'm Enzo. I'm business development lead here at Rainfactory. I've had 10 years of experience in go-to-market, 4 years in PR, 5 years formerly at Indiegogo. And now I'm at Rainfactory, one of the first agencies to offer full-scale crowdfunding marketing, and now one of the only agencies who remain to do that as well.
Thanks, Enzo. Former teammate, so good to see him on the agency side. Always good to see a familiar face. And now I'll pass it over to Matt with Easyship.
Hey all, again, honored to be here. Thanks for hosting Indiegogo. And yeah, I'm Matt. I lead the crowdfunding team over here at Easyship. And I've been in the crowdfunding world for close to 4 years now, which is pretty crazy. And yeah, what I do every day is I work with all types of products and campaigns going live, specifically on Indiegogo. And I just help founders build a shipping and fulfillment strategy based on their unique situation, and just try and provide a lot of value and insight when a brand is trying to get their physical product around the world. So really excited for today. And yeah, it's an honor. So thank you.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. We're going to get started with the origin story of the mClassic in Marseille. And we kind of wanted to toss it over to you, Amin, and ask you how you and your team came up with the idea for the mClassic. What was the origin story there?
So, I mean, the backstory was, we're a bunch of nerds and scientists in Silicon Valley. We developed, pipeline of video processor. And out of necessity, we grew from an underlying technology provider, like what you would know as a fabless semiconductor, selling a chip, to a system, to eventually a product. Now, being nerdy on our end, what we ended up developing something which was the world first plug and play, HDMI cable with a graphics processor or post processor built in. This was crazy. So basically we took a beautiful HDMI cable and we put our own video processor inside, and in real time, we will enhance content. We launched it. At that time, we knew as technologists, we know how to build chips. We know how to build systems, right? We had no clue about manufacturing at that time, but basically we started initially with a factory in China, discovered China, and going back and forth, back and forth. We launched a product, Linus Tech picked it up. We had no idea who was Linus Tech. I still remember one of the initial call with the Linus Tech production team, and it's like with a bit of French attitude, who? Excuse me. You know, they took their product, they made a review, it cost us nothing, and it went wild like crazy. So that was fun. That was crazy. That was, you know, but very quickly we discovered the first challenge is you got an idea, you got a concept, you develop it, now manufacturing, reliability. So very quickly we end up into a challenge with a factory in China and so on and so on. And the second challenge was, so we got lucky enough to build a great relationship with Foxconn to resolve this. It was fantastic. But very quickly, the next challenge is you need to market it. And we try to market it, and you know, the success of Monster Cable, selling beautiful cable in the early 2000s and going to China and putting a nail polish on a connector didn't fly anymore. By the time Marseille launched it, an HDMI cable, which has actually a brain in it, it was too good to be true, right? So it became very expensive to market it. So the post-success of Linus Tech and all this, where do you go from this? Became a challenge. And clearly, from a marketing standpoint, I come from an engineering background, scientific background, so on. So we learn on the hard way how challenging is marketing. And in all honesty, marketing is more difficult than engineering, unfortunately. We know how to build, we agree on a spec, and we're going to build it. So it became very, very difficult and highly, you know, expensive to try to market. It's not a cable; it's a world first, you know, HDMI cable processor. It's a processor, how you call it, and so on and so on. Hard. So this is where it became very clear that we got to do something else. We took the cable, the M cable. We say, you know, forget it. You know, cut the cord. We took the processor to another level. And it became repackaged and all this, and it became the world first plug and play graphics card for a game console. Whoa. Hold on a second, graphics card, what do you mean, and all of that? And we can talk some more about this, right? I mean, it's difficult because, again, as innovator, unfortunately, in tech, very often, if you think about it, you know, you come up with a solution, but actually it's going to market it, it's a solution that's looking for a problem until you get that sweet spot. So now we knew that, you know, the best thing to do was probably to introduce it to the early adopter. And thank you so much to the backers, because without the early adopters, technology would go nowhere, right? So initially, and I apologize, hopefully I'm not thinking too long here, but initially, we, you know, the first thing was not Indiegogo, was the other crowdfunding platform.
Kickstarter.
So everybody say you gotta go to Kickstarter. So we, you know, we didn't know marketing, what means marketing. We had the earlier, you know, as innovator, you know, all some of the key influencers picked up the M cables. So, you know, but from there it was quite challenging. Few weeks away from, you know, launching the mClassic on the crowdfunding platform, somebody said, wait a minute, I mean, you know, if you say, you know, like you want to do technology, one platform, you need to go and talk to Indiegogo. I got introduced to Indiegogo and it discovered Enzo. Brilliant guy. Shocking, he's on the call here, you know. And yeah, told me, yeah, this is the place to do tech. And we started to talk and so on. I was really impressed by how, at that time, Enzo was working for Indiegogo. And I was very impressed with the process. So the Q&A and, you know, are you ready? What are you going to do? Because the success of crowdfunding, we don't talk often about it. You just see the numbers that, wow, they raised $1 million. But what did it cost you to do this, right? What did it take for this? So Indiegogo was quite very interesting, which was not just a website where you just put the information and, you know, make a wishful, you know, with a, you know, expect that the campaign is going. No, it was a lot of interesting you know, methodology behind it that makes that success is not an accident. So it was interesting, but nevertheless, since we never done crowdfunding, I'll be the first to admit it was scary, man. It was like, because where is the company going after that, right? So long story short, we worked really hard. We launched it on Indiegogo, and it was an amazing campaign. It was phenomenal because not only Indiegogo had, you know, and we'll talk about the Easyship very quickly, But very quickly with the level of engagement of the community, it was spectacular. 8,000 backers. They started to discover the product, the question, helping us to define it, to finalize, fine-tune some of the requirements of the product. It was really, really, really good, right? And it was not just a bunch of Google ad and Facebook ad, and no, it was what I can tell you is that being genuine, being sincere, be honest, be there, for your backers, that was critical. But very quickly, oh God, another challenge shows up that we didn't expect it, shipments, So there, I must say, confess, Enzo again. Hello, you might need to talk to Easyship. And boy, they've got a beautiful name, but Easyship, you must be kidding. What is this again? But actually, it turned out to be a really, really good thing for us, because all of a sudden, the crowdfunding was going, all over worldwide, and we started to have shipment all over the world. So we partnered with Easyship, and honestly, at that time especially, and we'll let Matt comment on that. But it was, think about it. It was almost, what are you talking about? You're like a group of nerding scientists in Silicon Valley. You've got your beautiful product and all of that, but all of a sudden you market it, and all of a sudden you think that you can worldwide ship. How are you going to make that happen, right? So it was quite challenging. We were familiar with the US, shipping US, but go and ship in South America. Good luck. The pricing, all that. So very quickly, I was really, really pleased that Easyship was around, because they went through the hassle of going and partnering with all the warehouse. Yes, if you look from a cost standpoint, maybe Easyship is not the cheapest in town. For sure, I would say. But in the meantime, let's get real. As innovator, you're good at one thing, so do it. If you're trying to reinvent shipment, fulfillment, everything related to marketing and so on, you're not going to make it. So that was very critical. And as you grew as a brand, then of course, maybe you can look for optimization, and that's where today Marseille is looking at. But in all honesty, if I had to redo it again, we will do it. No discussion.
Yeah. So it sounds like you summed up everything that I had questions already. You went with crowdfunding because you had this amazing idea and product, and you wanted to bring it to life, but weren't quite sure how to market it. And you found that Indiegogo's audience was perfect for your tech and innovation product, and adopted it quickly because of your personal touch, the personal touch of Enzo when he was on the team. And we still have a team of people dedicated directly to people who want to launch campaigns here at Indiegogo. It sounds like that personal touch and that marketing touch was why you went with Indiegogo. I think the only piece missing here is how much did you actually end up raising on the platform when you launched?
It was getting close to $1 million. It was 800 something or 900. It was about almost $1 million, and we never done a crowdfunding campaign, which was unbelievable, and more than 8,000 backers. That was, like the idea of the crowdfunding was very clear initially, that you're going there to validate it. Because the thing that is difficult is, like you're coming up with this innovation, but, to make sure that it's worthwhile building it. And, like I said earlier in the call, I was born happy. And the last thing I want is to wake up in the morning working like a madman on something that doesn't pay off. What's the point? Money is not an end, but you rather work on something that people cares about. So that crowdfunded platform, it's like, how will you go market without going for crowdfunding? Honestly, launching a new product, why will you do that? I don't get it. I think it's the ultimate test, and scary. And again, every time I think about this, that remind me this great video from Simon Sinek, where he talk about the why, the how, and the what, right? Is without the early adopters, we will still have the lottery fund. So those guys who are on those crowdfunded campaign, on Indiegogo, or who understand the technology, they are critical. They're your first test.
So I think that's the beauty of crowdfunding, right? With mClassic launching on Indiegogo, it truly was that access that you get from the early adopters, the backers who truly care about your product, right? That unbeatable access. And I think I remember when you launched the campaign, one of the comments that we got quite often from backers was how impressed they were at the access that they got to the founder of mClassic. That's not common when you talk about big brands like Apple or Nike. You don't get to talk to the CEO. So that access that you get from Indiegogo direct to the CEO, comments about what you want to see on the product, is so valuable to an early startup like Marseille.
And I think Enzo, there's no discussion that it's like either you're real about it or you're not. We're bringing innovation. If you're going to go and sell commodity product, you don't go on crowdfunding.
Yeah.
The first thing that I remember, one of the first questions you asked me said, did you launch this before? Was it introduced? So it was a pure innovation. So you're not going to sell something that they already know what it is. So, so the level of engagement, I don't think that is because, I happen to be, I want to be good. I want to forget all this. It's gold. Yeah. You want to be thankful to the backers. I was talking to a colleague this morning, was saying like, again, how amazing the level of engagement that we had and this, and because, like not only they're willing to pay for your technology, not only they're willing, but they're willing to help you make it better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's hard. I mean, it's very hard as an innovator, the investor, go and convince the investor that you need to develop the next product and so on and so on. It's not that obvious. Show me the money, show me the return on investment. So the crowdfunding is really, the backers are really an extension of the company.
100%. And it's because it's a valuable data point, right? And we take a data-driven approach to every launch here at Factory. So I think it's a critical element to the success of it.
It doesn't mean that we can talk about it maybe later on the call, but it doesn't mean that crowdfunding is the first step. If you're serious about launching innovation, after that, there's a lot of challenges, serious challenges on how do you go from the crowdfunding to become a real brand. That's where, the Rainfactory partnership comes in. How do you, because now the early adopter, they have spoken, they have validated, but now how do you make it that people who don't know will know? Yeah. That's a huge challenge, and we can talk about it later at the time.
We definitely will when we get to the Rainfactory portion of this call, and I'm very excited for that as well. But where we left off was you raised close to $1 million, and now, as you've alluded to, you didn't want to let down those people who were such strong early adopters. So now you have to turn to Easyship. So I'm going to hand it over to Matt to talk about like making sure that we didn't let those people down and got them their stuff. So.
Oh, of course. And I appreciate it, guys. Amin, great to see you again. And yeah, I mean, I think just hearing your story, that really just validates kind of what we're doing over here at Easyship, right? When I first started at Easyship close to 4 years ago, we really saw that we could provide a lot of value to first-time creators who really had little to no grasp about the shipping and logistics space at all, and really how to fulfill a crowdfunding campaign, right? So we really act as consultants and guide and educate entrepreneurs on what to do from a shipping perspective. So, I mean, I think my first question, I really wanted to ask you, from your perspective, doing a crowdfunding campaign before, like, how important is it to think about shipping early on a crowdfunding campaign, and just how important that is to get your products out there?
I think it's a must. It's a must because, I mean, of course, you don't know how successful is going to be the campaign, right? So you could say, let's wait and see. But I think let's get real. First of all, it's a complex task. So after the fact, fulfilling your promise, you're talking about branding trust, and we had hiccups. I'm telling you, it was crazy. I mean, all of a sudden, fulfilling from the US, from Europe, and then the VAT issue, the sales tax between the US model, where the listing of a price is without the sales tax included. So all this created a huge mess for us. So I think first is the ease of use of the model, right? Why would you not do it? Are you kidding? If you tell me, and let's get real, the cost optimization is not your number one goal here. Your number one goal is to please, the backers. Number one. They're the one who are here, who are gonna make it happen for you. Without them, you've got nothing. So delivering the product to them is critical. And until today, I'm telling you, you get like somebody out of the blue that claims something. Oh, I didn't call me, man. I'm not gonna joke about it. Because their voice matters the most. Without them, you won't even be in retail. Never. right? So so I think that honestly, Matt, I'm not trying to be polite here. It's a no-brainer. It's the same thing as manufacturing. Also, build the product. You better be, let's get real, right? If you say you're gonna do something, you gotta do it. You gotta deliver. So the quality was there, and missing out the opportunities, So I think from the get-go, the model, what you've done, it's a great platform for, I'm just starting. And how many people, entrepreneurs, they're like, it's so hard to, drive to, from an idea to a product, right? So making sure that you have an accelerator, that's how I see Easyship that can do this. That's fantastic. And in terms of, and that's what I would say.
No, I appreciate that. And for some context here too, guys. So, I mean, when he launched the crowdfunding campaign, he worked with Easyship for all of his international orders and utilized our Hong Kong fulfillment center to ship out all of his international orders to his backers. So yeah, I appreciate you kind of coming on here and talking about Easyship and your journey. And I mean, if you had to give some advice, something that you would do next time to creators out there from a shipping perspective, could you maybe give some advice to some creators out there on your shipping journey and some do's and don'ts?
I think there's no doubt, like I said, it's like, that if you're not like, established brand already and you're really the creator and coming out with something new, don't reinvent the wheel. Go and leverage those platforms, because having those partnerships in place around the world is going to be critical. The second one, in terms of VAT and all of these things are, catching up on that. It's going to be critical to understand the pricing model. It's going to be critical, but again, Easyship has evolved a lot in that regard. I was talking to a colleague this morning who was saying, no, on the setup, you can include the VAT, not include. And so, I think having a good understanding of what it means selling in, I don't know if you are based in US, you understand how sell price, but you need to understand, that it doesn't work like, it's not the same selling a product in Europe or in US or in Asia and so on. So understand that dynamic. And, I think give a call to Matt, sorry, but I'm going to put you on the spot here. But I mean, like, why will you waste your time? I mean, you're kidding what? It's like, honestly, I don't see, it's an accelerator. Right. So you can go and try to optimize it. You can go and try to build your partnership with a fulfillment center. So Matt, we used Easyship for international because, we have sold mCable priorly on our platform, and we have a warehouse that was doing a great job in US. So we didn't have to reinvent that. But, if you're just starting, forget it. I mean, don't waste your time. Build a partnership with somebody who's going to take care of the fulfillment, understand, the difference of selling a product and the law and regulation in terms of Europe versus UK versus US and Asia, and take it from there.
Cool. No, I appreciate that. And yeah, I think just the last point that I'll add to you is from an Easyship perspective, from a Marseille perspective, just when you look at the big picture too. So a majority of the clients that I work with start on Indiegogo and want to make it big in the e-commerce game, right? Either retail or e-commerce. And I really work with the end goal of nailing their crowdfunding campaign, getting all of their products out to their backers, and then really moving them into a long-term fruitful e-commerce strategy. So definitely we can do an end-to-end solution for any crowdfunding campaign, for their crowdfunding campaign, as well as for their e-commerce as well. So yeah, I appreciate it, Amin. And yeah, thanks for the
no, I think that there's two things I'd like to add to what you're saying, right? Which is true. I'm not saying that, hey, just take Easyship just to launch your campaign and you're done, because it's not true. It's just the beginning. Now you've got, until today, we have a lot of partnership around the world of that. We're still leveraging Easyship in Hong Kong, right? So I think it's important to realize that this is the beginning of the journey. Now that you got the validation, you need to fulfill your promise. That's the number one. But then you need to keep up. You need to start to manage the return. You need to start to manage whatever. You need to start to grow the business from there. So it's critical. The mistake that we made, because, obviously along the way we learned the mistake we made, for example, in regard to that, at that time, we had no idea. We didn't even realize, like, okay, it was painful for me, especially that with a French accent, it doesn't take much to know that I come from France, but the reality is that completely forgotten. I moved in mid-90s in Silicon Valley. When you get a customers that's telling you, I received your product and I have to pay 20 euro or shit, like, whoa, it hurt. This is not what we wanted to do. So all of a sudden it was, so taking all this into consideration, in advance, it's important. But again, since it's so hard to make a successful campaign, right? It's not easy. Don't think that you just go and, no, you need to prepare yourself, so that's why I love to share some of the mistakes that we've done along the way. So that was one of them. So since it's so hard, go and partner with Easyship, for example, for shipments, and make sure that you cover your base on that. And maybe you don't ship everything out of Hong Kong. Maybe you have another warehouse in Europe, and so on. Matt, you have today, I'm sure that you have partnership in Europe as well. I apologize for being, I don't know.
No, of course. Yeah, we have fulfillment partners all over the world. So really depending on where your backers are coming from, where you're manufacturing, we can set you up to basically optimize your shipments in every single region. So I know you guys utilized our Hong Kong facility, but let's say you had a massive market in the EU or in Canada or Australia, for instance, that's something that we can set you up with and creators up with.
And at that time, we didn't have the knowledge and we didn't have access to this. So that's another big plus for new creators out there, or entrepreneurs or dreamers.
Of course. Thank you, Amin.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Matt. And thank you, Amin. You've spoken a little bit now, and I think this is a perfect time to transition to Rainfactory, if that's okay with you, Matt, about both the pre-campaign and then what happens after the crowdfunding campaign to transition to e-commerce. And speaking from personal experience at Indiegogo, Rainfactory has been one of our top partners for that. I know when a campaigner is in their hands, they're going to be in really good ones. So wanted to pass the mic over to Enzo to talk a little bit about both of those topics as you prepare and then as you transition.
Yeah, I think before I dive in here, one of the beautiful things about this talk is you're really getting a behind the scenes look of what an entrepreneur has to do to bring a campaign to Indiegogo and beyond that. And I think what the viewers have been hearing is a story of not just how to raise funding, but a story of how to build a company and a brand. And that's what we specialize in here at Rainfactory, right? From the very beginning to the end, it's a data-driven approach, not only to help you raise a lot of money, but to have a deep understanding as to why people are buying your products. So what we do for mClassic nowadays is we test, we validate, we scale, and we repeat that process over and over again to help and bring a deep understanding as to who the consumers are that are buying mClassic. Telling the difference between taking advantage of events like Nintendo releasing a new game, like the new Zelda game, and taking advantage of that event and honing in on who those audiences are and how they differ from a different game, for example. So we're diving in on the advertising side, but we also are taking a multi-pronged approach to improve both the social media side of things, the web design, and now email marketing to add on top of that. And so far, we've been able to double the engagement on social media and also increase the conversion rate on the website itself.
Well, another thing that, Andrew, I don't know, Andrew, you're mute. Huh?
I'm ready.
Yeah. Another thing that I think we could dive in, if you like, I don't know, like from the time wise, I was just looking briefly at the question, but obviously I cannot dive into the question like this, but I think it's true that a lot of creators out there is what does it take to be, and I learned it the hard way. I'd rather be lucky than good because I know I'm good. So, so you want to be humble about what does it take to be successful. But still, what does it take for to build a success, to get at least to optimize the performance of your campaign, right? And there's a lot of things. One thing that I didn't mention, which I think is critical, to us, was we talked about during the campaign is being there for the one who cares, the backers, right? But before the campaign, I think one thing that we did, which was really, really good, is having a good exposure from a PR standpoint. And we were not, like, what I mean by PR is I would like to talk about more the influencer, the YouTuber, unpaid, all organic. I mean, maybe some people out there can do the paid. We never really cracked it. We didn't have the budget for it. We didn't, so I don't know. But what I can say is that, obviously the Linus Tech, obviously the Wolf Den, obviously the Matt Rosenstein, obviously all these amazing influencers who you cannot buy them out. You're not going to buy. So again, being genuine, being sincere, being real, that's what's going to make you successful. And, you want to learn it sooner than later, whether or not you're on the right track. So there's a different level of validation. There's the validation of really, how an influencer is going to react on your product, which can be painful, but that's your future. And then the early adopter, that they're going to help you, make it more, help you redefining, for the mass market, how the product could be perceived. So I remember when we launched it, the world's first plug and play graphics card. Some people, duh, this is not a graphics card. Dude, I mean, okay, fine, relax, dude. What do you want me to tell you? We never invented enhancement. So if I'm a PC gamer, I'm gonna go and buy to upgrade the graphics processing. I'm gonna buy a graphics card, correct? And I get a better graphics processing. If I have a game console, what do? I can't. So if I use mClassic, I get better graphics. It's like a graphics card. Leave me alone, But it's like, so you define, and then you're like, yeah, how many people are searching for graphics cards? So that's not. So I think that the influencer is critical. I mean, the reviews are critical, and the feedback, and make sure to learn from it.
I also think you're speaking to something that I've seen in my 4 years at Indiegogo on the marketing side. If you don't lead with a strong product offering, all the money in the world, all the advertising in the world, all the influencer reviews in the world aren't going to go your way. The number one thing has to be beyond putting your heart and soul and personality into it, also having really thought about your product offering. And you spoke to that at the beginning as well, where you had the M cable, and then you used those learnings to improve and enhance your product offering for the mClassic, and it really took off. So I think something that I see with creators a lot is they'll have a first iteration, they'll put it out there, and then they'll give up after that first try. When really even those like initials, if you want to call them a failure, actually could just be learnings. If you take it the right way, you can go, hey, like this product didn't quite work the way we wanted it to, but it's because of this reason. And the potential backers, the potential customers are telling us that. How do we get back to the grindstone, put our soul back into this to take that feedback and make it something better? And you did that on the mClassic as well, which, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about future plans too. And we still have about 10 more minutes here before we can move into Q&A. So like, how have you taken that mClassic stuff to continue to evolve Marseille's offerings? There's a question I have for you, Amin.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that, well, first of all, it's like, let's get real. I mean, it's hard to build a company, man. It's hard. Like, do you really want to do this? I didn't ask to be the CEO and the founder of this company. I didn't. But it's hard. I'm serious. I mean, it's crazy. You got to be crazy. You got to have thick skin. And if you're not willing to fail, you're never going to succeed. Or if you're lucky enough to be a first charm success and take it and go retire, this is what you want. But the reality, it's hard. So you better love what you do, right? And the second thing that you talk about is, the way I look at it is because it's so hard, do whatever you can to learn from your mistake and learn from the feedback that you're getting, right? The M cable now allow us to launch the mClassic. And there's more. There's a lot of backyard, a lot of customers out there say, I mean, when are you guys going to do the next? I want 4K, I want HDR, I want this. And you think we don't want to do it? Are you kidding? Yeah, there's no doubt. We want to do more. But there's also and we should talk about the Rainfactory. There's also the return on investment. Like there's a big difference between a concept, a proof of concept, a prototype, a product, and a mass market. Now our challenge is like, there's no doubt that I can tell you that I'm not going to reveal anything here, but there's no doubt that we're going to come up with, the next product's got to come out of Marseille sooner than later. And I know some people, come on, man, it's been years, the mClassic and this, but also is you need to make sure that we can justify the opportunity, because the crowdfunding is one thing, but then it's a real business to run. And unfortunately, it's not as easy as it looks, and it takes a lot of capital to run. So that's where I think the Rainfactory comes in. The early adopter are your best friend. Like they're going to tell you, best friend for me is somebody who tell you, pardon my French, if you're full of shit, they want to hear it. Those are your best friend, not like the guy who just tell you your product is amazing. No, everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's how you can build better product. But then how you're going to bring that, once you have the validation, to the mass market, that's an art and science too. You can try to go and buy Google ad, Facebook ad, it's not going to work. Creating the marketing need. And how do you make it that you simplify the messaging, you make it that the mass market is going to do, and that takes a lot. Man, I didn't know email marketing, SMS marketing, Google, Facebook advertisement, influence. Whoa. I didn't sign up for this.
It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint, right? And when you're at this stage, it takes a multi-pronged approach because one opportunity really has an impact on another. So if your ads are not performing well, it might be because your social media comments are not being answered. So at this stage, you really have to be in control of all of those different portals when it comes to your community.
Yeah, and it's so that's the other thing, which is like, do you take it from the innovation and then, you're done with it, or you're going to grow and you realize, like for us is we feel like, the same way as, you filter water, we filter pixel. This didn't exist before, right? And we're like really starting to think like if your eyes could speak, they'll tell you stay away from the screen. But if you can't, use Marseille. That's what we're doing, basically. That's true. That's, that we're trying with, because, regardless of how ugly those reading glasses are, now that my brain got spoiled, there's no going back. I need to have them on the screen, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what we did so now we need to, we invented it. We reinvented it, or the visual enhancement for gaming, for cinema, for video. Now there's more to come. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So, what advice do you have for future campaigners? People who want to launch something. Future campaigners, someone who wants to launch a product.
Man, it's a lot of work. It takes 3 months to prepare a great. Now, I will say that, you develop product, but don't rush it. Do it right. Just make sure, number one, get all make sure that you get enough feedback on the product before you go too far, right? Friends and family, then influencers. Don't try to buy the market. It's not going to work. Try to share it, get feedback. And once you start to see the sparkle of this, engage PR, plan, make sure there's going to be a lot of sound around it. People are going to hear it, and put a plan with Indiegogo, for example. No doubt about it, right? Because, defining the perk, and the content, the assets, remember, you're bringing innovation. So most of the time, we don't know. Every one of us, the first reaction we have when you see a new product, you think of what you know. And so it's hard. So how are you going to communicate that? So the digital asset important, the media aspect, the PR, and yet the logistic, making sure you can build, making sure you can ship. So all this to me You don't press the button without, we learn the hard way, but we had an unfair advantage. Some of the success and challenges and failure of mCable enable us to do a great campaign on mClassic. Enzo, you've got a lot to say on campaign, obviously.
I think you said it, but I would add to that, to the founders listening, enjoy the ride, enjoy the experience. It's hard, but it's part of the challenge. It's part of the fun. And there's an opportunity to learn, and when you fail. So don't ever think of that as a bad thing either.
But Enzo was so magic, man. When we, God, we were like, I was, you freak out, man. We started the first campaign ever, like we were, oh my God, and you start to see this thing. It's like, I'm not like, I'm not I do everything I can, and not to be on social and this. I try not to as much as I can. My favorite joke is Facebook, they didn't book my face yet. Sure. But anyway, it's scary, but it's so pleasant to see that the campaign is working.
It's addicting in a way when you see how successful it is.
And so that's another reason why. That's another reason why you need to make sure that you plan ahead. The whole package.
Yeah.
The whole package. The shipment, the logistic, the manufacturing, and have also be ready to answer, because like Enzo, like when the community, I was there, but yeah, it's like, oh my god, there's a comment.
Yeah.
This guy is saying this, you need to help, you need to be there for them, right? You need to be there for yourself. So it's a commitment. It's yeah,
it's never too early to talk to any of us, to those viewers listening, to Indiegogo, to Rainfactory, to Easyship, because to what Amin is saying, you really want to have all your ducks in a row. And a lot of the success that you see on a crowdfunding campaign takes a lot of preparation, about 3 to 4 months before the launch of a campaign, once you have a mass manufacturable product. So keep that in mind as you think through your timeline.
And the closer you are to, to really, because you see, what we did with mClassic is, we made sure that the product gets in the hands of a couple of influencers, people that matters, right? That they picked up the product, and which means the product is built. So also don't come up with some, just a piece of, a promise that you cannot fulfill. So the first validation will be some of these influencers, having them to be able to see the product, to touch it and feel it, and that's important.
That's actually a really critical point. I mean, nowadays, validation is really an important element to a crowdfunding campaign. So you do want to have a mass manufacturable prototype, ideally in such a way that you can send over to influencers, to media journalists who can demo the product ahead of time, just to add to the level of trust on your campaign.
Yeah. And that's going to be really, really critical. That we talk about the customer experience, right? So the journey, the early adopters, they are friends, they are family, they are all they're amazing people, but in the meantime, hey, you need to treat them with respect. I mean, you got to do your best, right? So
we have about
any other question?
We have about 15 minutes left, so just wanted to cover some housekeeping. What's coming up for Easyship that you wanted to mention, Matt? Anything coming down the pipeline that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, definitely. So I wanted to just speak on what we're doing specifically for Indiegogo creators. For Indiegogo creators that go live on Easyship as well, we'll waive the subscription fee to our platform. And also, which is exciting, we'll be offering Indiegogo creators shipping credits to save on shipping costs. And campaigners can actually qualify to up to $10,000 in shipping credit, which is crazy because shipping prices can be expensive sometimes. So yeah, that's what we're going to do for Indiegogo creators. And yeah, we're really excited about that.
Yeah. That's great. We'll link to the landing page for that in a follow-up email, so keep your eyes open, everyone attending this call. And then, same for Rainfactory, Enzo. Anything coming down the pipeline that you wanted to mention?
Beyond exploring new product categories to launch through crowdfunding, we are also offering new services, in particular one catered towards Indiegogo drops. So those Indiegogo creators who have basically stock of their product that they're looking to get rid of, we can do a small service for you to amplify your Indiegogo drop campaign.
Yeah, the other thing I'd like to add, Andrew, that I think is important too, is like, so we talk about the campaign, we talk about the preparation, but what's next, right? So we're talking about, fulfilling your promise, building trust. And, I highly spoke of, the early adopters, but there's something that I like to touch base, and big shout out to what we call the ambassador. The ambassador of Marseille is, all these early adopters, all these customers who discovered the product and basically became a branding ambassador. Shout out to Zubrans for supporting that program for us, because this is critical. They are there, they are here, they know the technology, they're going to be, they're going to help out on forums on their own. They do it, and for the love of what you do. So, frankly speaking, again, when I said without the backers, there's no innovation will not get into the hands of the mass market. Obviously, without the branding ambassador, you're not going to go far. So big thank you to all of you, who support the brand, and they support it because they believe in what we do, and that's important. And they give us feedback, and they want more, and they will have more, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm. Speaking about what you do, what's coming up the pipeline for Marseille? Do you guys have any new things on the horizon that you want to talk about?
It's too early to publicly release, but we've got some really, really interesting concept in house that we've been working for quite some time now. I mean, COVID was a major, step back for us, because everybody started to operate remotely and so on and so on. So it was not that easy when you build a product. But yeah, no, there's no doubt. I'm very, very excited about the future of the company in terms of product roadmap, and there's some really, really crazy idea out there. There is the obvious, there is what most of the branding ambassador and customer expect is, of course, you want to have more of the mClassic, but I'm hoping to be able to do even way more. Some really, really interesting stuff. But time will talk. Again, I mean, it's there's no doubt that we'll go through Indiegogo in my mind. There's no doubt that we'll leverage this entire ecosystem. I mean, the company is becoming bigger and bigger. So we have developed some brand, some partnership with some specific warehouse and all of that. So, we've been around since 2005. So I don't know how much we'll leverage of Easyship, but still, for you out there, creator, there's no discussion. Like I said, don't try to reinvent the wheel. There's enough challenges in, bringing your innovation to the mass market, So, and we might just actually still, I'm thinking out loud here, but we might still be using Easyship for the campaign, that's, I'm serious. Yeah. No, I think it's, so very, very excited. There's a lot, it's the hard part is, to make sure that you create it like from an early adopter to the mass market, and creating the need and make it people realize the benefit of the visual enhancement and so on and so on. That's where I think the partnership with Rainfactory is critical. It's hard, you gotta crack it. It's so funny when you see on social sometime, I get feedback from the team and say, oh, this guy Marseille doesn't know how to market this shit. This is not how you do it. This is not, I mean, dude, man, welcome to the real world, Marketing is so hard, man. It's so it's so difficult to make it easy to understand, for the mass market,
Well, keep your eyes peeled. I'm sure we'll be seeing new stuff coming down the road from Marseille as well.
No doubt.
We'll dive into questions now. Joel, I see your question. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn, Andrew Engle. You can also reach out to my email, andrew.engle@indiegogo.com. I'll just send that to you now in case you want to reach out. with your campaign link, and we can go from there. And then everyone else should be able to see that too. I think this one's for you. I mean, how much did you spend on ads and building your mailing list? How big was your mailing list when you launched?
I don't have the numbers in top of me, but ad was less than, I would say less than 10 to 15%. We didn't get the return on ad on Google was 7 to 10x on the campaign, which I mean, I wish we could do today. You know, I will say, you know, for us was really the organic traffic that really boosted. The ad was reinforcing the value proposition more than anything else, but you know, it was, I don't know, but I will target 20%. You know, I don't know what Enzo you think, but for us was quite, you know, we didn't have to spend as much.
20% is about industry benchmark. Yeah.
Okay, so I would say,
Yeah,
you know,
20% of what you'd like to raise.
Yeah, I think you know, so we were, you know, I think that our campaign, the organic side was amazing. And also big shout out to Linus Tech and others, you know, Wolf Dan, Matt Rosenstein, all these guys who've done an amazing, you know, job for us. You know, we, yeah. A paid influencer, we didn't crack it, we did nothing. It worked out for us. I'm not saying it's bad. I just that I can't be, you know, I think it's more maybe, you know, maybe the PR side was more important than just, you know, than paid influencer. Because the validation, having it from on an organic way was probably more powerful. I don't know, Enzo.
Yeah, I think when you get validation organically, you really get organic responses from people who are passionate about the product, right?
Yeah.
With a paid influencer, sometimes you're really paying for that content. You're not sure entirely whether or not that person.
And also maybe that, so maybe that, you know, it's like, it's maybe it depends also the influencer himself, you know. But I think the key is that what are you trying to do?
Right.
I want to have real feedback. I'm trying to, you know, I'm trying to validate an idea, a product, a grand thing. So I think the key is get real, be sincere about this, and be ready to be slapped. You know, be ready to, no, it's not, this is the way you thought, this is that way. And, you know, and then when you get validation, you know, go further.
And keep in mind that you can get validation just purely from people who are trying out your product. It does not have to be a journalist, right? If a gamer who's really into Marseille is trying it out for the first time, make sure to capture their reaction, get their validation, get their testimonial. Same goes for any product out there, because that's valuable input that you can add on to your campaign page.
Okay, Roger, I'm not quite sure to answer your question, but if you could send me a link at Andrew.Engle@Indiegogo.com in the questions there, I can help you with that. We kind of talked about the community, Lindsay. If you have further questions there, I'll feel free to follow up with me or with any of us offline. This is an interesting one. How would you have handled that differently had you known about it prior to the campaign? I think Matt and Amin can both speak to that.
Say it again.
No, what different?
How would you have handled VAT differently had you known about it prior to your campaign?
Matt, you want to get started?
Yeah, for sure. So I think when it comes to like any creator, when you're looking into getting your products to the EU and the UK, you have to think about that. And first, it really just comes down to like registering your company in the EU as well as the UK and registering for VAT. So I think number one, it depends on, okay, do you have enough orders in the EU and the UK to justify having a fulfillment location out there? If that's the case, then I would for sure register for VAT, register your company out there. But let's say you were just doing a crowdfunding campaign, you maybe only have a couple hundred orders. It might not make sense to register for VAT out there. It might make sense to just ship your goods direct to customer from Hong Kong. So I think it really depends on what you want to do long term and how many backers you have in those regions. But it's really important to get ahead of that at the beginning of your campaign.
So yeah, I think you let me share some of the mistakes that we've done, and hopefully, well, what we'll do differently. So first of all, yeah, it's correct that if you're not going to have, but I will plan for the successful story. I will plan for volume. I will plan for shipping a lot in UK and all of that. Number one thing, don't do the mistake that we've done at one point in time. Later in the company, you don't need to create a company to get VAT. You have the right, if you're in US or outside, you can trade in Europe without having, a company in Europe. So make sure to figure out a way to get a VAT as a trader and not as a company, because that's for sure until you really can afford to have, an operation in Europe if you're operating out of US and vice versa. I think being more, trading is the way to go. So basically, if you're in US, is your corporation that is going to sell the product in Europe, and I can obtain a VAT. It takes some time, but there's no reason why you should not. You should do it. It's going to be easier, and it's going to avoid the pain of having your backer discovering the extra expenses. What Matt is referring to is true. Like when in cases when you have there are certain country or small volumes, it might not be worth it for you to go through the hassle of creating all this, because in some cases the VAT will apply, in some cases it will not be applied. But if you are serious about, if you think that this is going to be big and you're going to have thousands of customers and more, I would definitely go and get a VAT as a trader company.
Yes, especially if you're thinking about having some e-commerce success in the future too. You might as well set it up when you're doing your crowdfunding campaign so you can smoothly transition over into a fruitful e-commerce business out there too. So those are some things.
No doubt. I hope I answer the question help out, but what's next?
I think that was a great answer. We have about 2 minutes left on the time. How is everyone on the call doing on time? Do we have time for further questions? Cool. Let's do Kara's question. How much of a discount on retail price do you suggest listing your product on Indiegogo? I worry about undercutting and shooting myself in the foot when I'm ready to go to market after crowdfunding.
The question is
really a business decision, in my opinion. You start with your COGS and you try to understand what your marketing costs are going to be. And from there, you determine if you want to take in a margin or not. Best practice, if you can show a 50% discount for those super early bird first backers, that's ideal. 50% is a nice number. But of course, not all companies can accommodate that. So the bigger, the better.
I think I'd like to add something to it. That's an interesting question, because it's true that it's a business decision, but there's also another side of the story that we don't talk about is, as an entrepreneur and all of that, one thing that you're going to learn the hard way is what is they talk, how do you call it, the customer cost acquisition? What is that term again?
COGS. Or the cost,
not the cost of goods sold, so one of the challenge that you're going to discover very quickly is how much does it cost to sell your product,
right?
And no matter what you think, you don't know. You're going to learn. Maybe you have experience from previous product, but if that's not the case, it's difficult to know how much you're going to have to invest to sell that product. Right.
And this is part of the process that Rainfactory takes in the months prior to the launch of a campaign, right? We are going to be testing price elasticity to determine, what is a good price point for the product against your audience. How much are they expecting to pay? We'll research the competitive space as well in terms of what your competitors are charging for the same product or a similar one at that. So we do a data-driven approach to understand what you should price your product at, and compare that against your business.
Yeah. So what you see, Enzo, like that, there are a couple of things, right? One is which is another elephant in the room, is the price of the product, right? It's not worth $99. Whoa. $40 million of capital developing all this chip and all this and that. Unfortunately, I wish, and by the way, know how much it costs for you to speak to me. It's not that obvious. So what is the actual price that the consumer is going to pay for it? What is the cost of it's going to take to market the product, right? And then what is the actual cost of manufacturing? And we know that obviously as an entrepreneur, the beginning, the production cost, initial production cost versus the mass market. So maybe during the campaign, if you can afford the 50%, that's great. But you also need to remember because, or maybe you cannot, technically speaking, you cannot afford it for high volume. But behind the scene, you have your game plan for mass manufacturing, and you better be thinking ahead of what's going to be the actual cost. Right. It's understandable that in your early version, the first run or the first batch of production, maybe you don't have the optimal cost yet. So you're going to have to shoot some of your margin initially, but think of the long run.
Yeah, and keep in mind that it's much easier to increase your price than to lower it over time.
Mm-hmm.
Is your price.
Yeah, and this is, I think, speaking to also why validation is so important. You can kind of hone in on what the best incentive discount is with some early people signing up to your list, and you can kind of survey them and get a feeling for where you think you should price the product. So not skipping that validation step is important too.
And also, and Drew, also the other thing that I think it's critical too is, again, going back to what are you trying to do? I don't think that the discount is good, as a reward, but really the idea behind is that we want the passionate people. We want the people who they're going to validate the product, right? So it's not here. I'm not on sales. If you from the get-go, your mission is to just be selling it to make money out of the campaign by being cheap, I don't think how you're going to go far. So again, is as long as you're real about, every dollar that you get from a backer is powerful. It's very, so it's not just about the discount, but it's really, again, the messaging behind the discounts.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for that. We'll do two more if you guys have time for it. One is for Enzo. Is there an example of a campaign that started out as a losing campaign and transitioned to becoming like really strong? Can you think of any examples that where things started off slow and picked up? Yeah.
Quite a lot. We have to diagnose the issue first and foremost as to what the problems are. And once you diagnose the issue, you hopefully come up with a solution which you then test, right? But it's critical to take a data-driven approach to every launch. The data doesn't lie. And if you've done enough preparation to gather enough data, you come into the campaign having a fairly good idea as to how much you're going to raise and how well the campaign is going to go. So I think proper preparation prevents poor performance. The 5 Ps, right?
Mm-hmm. And then one more for Easyship from John. Question for Easyship. A client of ours is using ShipStation to ship out clothing from their local warehouse. Do you drop ship unique items like clothing with many options, or do you prefer clients selling one single product, size, color?
Yeah, for sure. So we don't necessarily handle drop shipping specifically. We're more direct to customer via e-commerce as well as crowdfunding campaigns. But when it comes to different SKU counts, we can handle any types of campaigns that have multiple SKUs, multiple colors, clothing, anything along those lines. And our own fulfillment center and our fulfillment partners can handle really any type of situation that you will need. So that's something that we can help out with for sure.
Well, great, team. The rest of these, feel free to reach out to me at andrew.engle@indiegogo.com. Yeah, because these are kind of easier to answer offline because they're data related and I'd have to go pull them. So feel free to reach out to me, to Enzo, to Matt. There will be more information and follow-up emails. Amin as well. Thank you so much for taking the time to walk through your journey. It's the best joy I have working at Indiegogo is hearing stories of creators like you who went from an idea to a brand. It inspires me to keep going here. So I'm a little moved by it. Sorry, I get a little emotional, but yeah, I just really feel honored. I know it sounds so stupid, but I feel very honored to share that with you. And I'm really happy that you've had success and really appreciate you sharing your journey with us at Indiegogo, with Rainfactory, as an agency that we love to work with, and Easyship, a really trusted partner that helps make our backers really happy with the campaigners that launch on our site. We are so grateful for you all, and thank you so much for taking the time. Really enjoyed this talk.
Thank you so much.
Said it better, Andrew. Amin, this is you're the reason why we do all of this. And no better feeling than when we see our friends using your products.
That's cool. That's cool.
That's the bigger reward.
Thank you so much, guys. All right. Thanks a lot to all of you out there. Ciao, ciao.
Any
Bye.
questions for Rainfactory? Feel free to email me at enzo@rainfactory.com.
Cool.
Take care. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.
All right. Have a good week, everybody.